President Zelensky's arrival in South Africa is framed by his hosts as an opportunity to discuss and expand bilateral cooperation, but also with the objective of supporting efforts towards a lasting peace, efforts currently led by the United States that expressed frustration in recent days.
If for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass. But hopefully we won't have to do that.
His Secretary of State was even more forthright.
What we're talking about here is avoiding thousands and thousands of people from dying over the next year. We're trying to avoid that. So if they're serious about peace, either side or both, we want to help. If it's not going to happen, then we're just going to move on.
And while Russian President Vladimir Putin has been slow to agree a ceasefire with Ukraine, it's Zelensky that has been on the receiving end of public scoldings from the United States president, who vented his irritation at these remarks.
Ukraine does not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about. This is beyond our constitution. It's our territory, the territory of the people of Ukraine. As soon as we start talking about Crimea, about our sovereign territories, we enter a format that Russia wants, which is to drag out the war, because it will not be possible to quickly agree on everything.
Cue President Trump on social media, calling the statement harmful to the peace negotiations, arguing that Crimea was lost when former President Barack Obama was in office, that it's inflammatory statements like Zelensky's that make it difficult to settle the war. Further stating that they were very close to a deal, but that the man with no cards to play should finally get it done, reprising the sharp tone he delivered when the Ukrainian leader was in the Oval Office in late February.
You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Expectations of a broader ceasefire deal in the short term, as promised by Trump, appearing to fade with each day.
The Americans can have certain demands and the Russians can have certain demands, but they're both finding out that whatever they try to negotiate above the heads of the Ukrainians will not necessarily come to realization. The Ukrainians have proven themselves skillful military and diplomatic players, and that's continuing. I'm not suggesting that they are invulnerable. They can continue this war ad infinitum. Possibly the Russians can even outlast them. I'll concede that point, but not yet. Not for 2025. The US just wants any deal, and that it doesn't matter whether it's a good deal for Ukraine or a good deal for Russia. They want to be able to show that they are a broker and maybe a power player, that they can have an influence on events. There's a real difference there, because for the Ukrainians, a bad deal is worse than no deal.
And with President Zelensky in South Africa, President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff was expected back in Moscow this week for a new round of talks with President Putin.
If it happens, we will inform you. For now, I can't say anything concrete on this topic. The U.S. continue their mediation efforts, and we welcome it without a doubt. Also, and I repeat it once again, we will continue our contacts. There are a lot of nuances around possible settlement which should be discussed, and where the positions should be narrowed and so on. So, we will continue this work.
Ending wars, often far more complicated than starting them. While this will be President Zelensky's first visit to South Africa, it will not be the first time he's met in person with President Cyril Ramaphosa, who led a peace delegation of African leaders to Ukraine in June of 2023, while the two also met on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Thursday's meeting at the Union buildings also follows a call between Presidents Ramaphosa and Putin on Monday. The South African readout says they committed to working together towards a peaceful resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and that Pretoria would continue engaging all interested parties on finding a path to peace, while the Kremlin said Putin outlined Russia's position on the need to address the root causes of the conflict and ensure Russia's security interests. Sherwin Bryce, SABC News, New York.